For Learning Objective 5.4a, we're going to factor quadratics again, but this time when the number in front of the x squared is greater than 1. So let's start off by looking at this particular example. Works the same way as we did the other day. So remember, we're going to take this trinomial and put it into two groups of two binomials. Now the difference today is this. The x squared term has a number in front of it, but because it's the first in the trinomial, we need to break it up so it's the first in each binomial. So just like yesterday, everyone gets an x, so an x and an x. But because there's a number 2 in front of it, you have to figure out where the 2 goes. So to think of all the factors of 2, luckily there's only one set, it's 2 times 1. So I'm just going to put the 2 here and the 1 there. And it doesn't matter if I put the 1 first or the 2 second. Okay? Now we have to look at factors of 7. It's at the end of the trinomial, so we put them at the end of our binomials. And again, there's only one set, either 7 times 1. So I have to put them in this place such that when I check, remember the two middle terms here, they're going to add to 15x. So let's go ahead and see, should we do plus 7 and plus 1, or should we have put the 1 first? Well, if we check this, 7 times x is 7x, 2 times x, or 1 is 2x. That gives us 9x. I need 15. So that doesn't work. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to erase my 7 and my 1, and I'm going to switch them. Let's try putting the 1 here and the 7 here. If I do that, now 1 times 1x is 1x. 2x times 7 is 14x. These two do add together to the 15x. Therefore, I now have the right combination, and we'll circle that as my answer. Okay, let's try another one. I'm going to take the trinomial, break it into two binomials. Okay. Our 3x squared has to go, since it's first there, goes into the first positions on the binomials. X squared is broken up into an x and x. That's easy. Again, factors of 3 now, there's only one set again, so 3 times 1. And I can put the 1 first and maybe the 3 or the 3 and the 1, it doesn't matter. Okay, now I'm going to find factors of 2 and put them at the end of the binomials. Again, there's only one combo, either 2 and 1, or maybe it's negative 2 and negative 1, by the way. I'm just going to try 2 and 1. I'm going to put plus 2 here and plus 1 here. And then I'm going to check and multiply these two middle terms to see if I get 5x. 3 and 2 is 6x. 1x and 1 is 1x, and that's 7x. So shoot, that didn't work. But it looks like here, if I switch the 2 and the 1 around, it might work this time. So 1 and 2, look at that. 1 times 3x is 3x. 1x times 2 is 2x, which gets us the 5x that we needed. So here, change those to black, is the correct answer for our factoring. Okay, let's try this one. Again, 7x squared goes here and here, so everyone gets an x. 7's prime, there's only one set, it's 7 and 1. So I'm going to put the 7 first and then the 1 second this time. Factors that get me positive 1, there are two sets. It's either 1 times 1, or it could be negative 1 times negative 1. Now I have to place them right here such that when I check the 2, I get negative 8x. So be thoughtful on this one. I have to get a negative 8x. So my eyes are kind of going to the set of maybe negative 1 and negative 1. So I'll do negative 1, and I'll test it out. Negative 1 and 1x is negative 1x. 7x and negative 1 is negative 7x. Lo and behold, you add those together, we get negative 8x. So we just found our final answer for this. There it is. Now practice makes perfect on factoring, so we're going to continue to look at some more. This trinomial, I'm going to break it down. The 2x squared, again an x and an x. Factors of 2 are 2 and 1. Let's switch them around. Let's put 1 first and then 2 this time. We need to figure out where to put factors of a positive 11. 11's prime, so only 11 and 1 make the right combination. But where do we put them? So when we multiply this and this, it totals up to 23x. I'm going to look at it a little more strategically first, and my gut tells me we should probably do a plus 11 here and a plus 1 here. 11 times 2 is 22x, 1x and 1 is 1x, which will add to 23x. We got it. There's our answer. Now this one is a little more tricky because when we look at the x squared, we have a 6 in front of it, and there's a variety of answers we can use for 6, so we have to be just thoughtful in it and see how lucky we are. So I'm going to put 6x squared. Again, the x is equally broken up. But now here's the deal. To get 6 is either 6 times 1 or it's 3 times 2. And I don't know which is the right combination. I personally like trying the smaller combination, so I'm going to try 3x and 2x. Now let's do factors of -5. There's 2 of them, -5 and a 1, or a +5 and -1. And I have to put them here such that when I check it out, that in this will come back to equaling a positive 1x. Okay, so where should we put it? I am thinking, and I'm just going to guess and check it. I'm going to try this combination. Let's try +5 minus 1. That'll give me a 10x and a -3x. That's 7x. That's not going to work. Maybe I should switch the order. Maybe it's -1 and +5. Let's just try that. That would get me a -2x and a +15x, which would add to 13x, and that's too big. So I know it's not that combination. I'm going to tell you it's not going to be this combination either. The problem is it's not even 3 and 2. So let's start over. Again, it's just guess and check. It's going to be a 6 and 1 combination. So 6x and 1x. Let's try that one. It's going to get something clean here. And we're going for a 1x. I'm going to go back to the same numbers I was thinking before, -5 and 1, and 5 and -1. Where can I put them such that I'll add up to a 1x? It looks like I can probably use this combination here. How about a -5 and a +1? Watch this. -5 and 1x is that. 6x and 1 is that. Adds to 1x. I got it. That's the right answer. And that took us 3 tries to do. So you really want to do this assignment in pencil. Let's look at one more. This one right here will focus more on learning objective B because it's factor and solve because it's set equal to 0. Let's just look at it in terms of factoring. And I'm going to get rid of this equal to 0 for right now. And let's just focus on this trinomial. So to factor this trinomial, let's set it up into 2 binomials. And this one's going to be a little bit trickier. First thing we want to do is take 4x squared and put it as our first term. So obviously it's x and x. Now for this one we have some choices. There are 2 factors of 4. It's either 4 and 1 or it's 2 and 2. And we can go ahead and try either one. I'm going to go ahead and try the 2 and 2. Okay, the next step, I'm going to take factors of +2, which could be, for example, 2 times 1. And I'm going to put them at the end of the 2 binomials. And what I'm trying to do is to get +6. So this term and this term will come back to a +6. So if I use this method, I can actually take the 2 and the 1 and just put them in these 2 spots. Let's do +2 here and +1 here and double check it. Right now, a 2 times a 2x is going to be a 4x. And then a 2x times the 1 is going to be the 2x. We are correct. 4x and 2x does get us 6x. So technically, it looks like we're done. Now on Schoology, this type of problem is going to say factor out the constant. And what that means is this particular binomial here, in particular this first one, there is a number that I can pull out of both of these. There's something they have in common. So Schoology is going to say fill in the 3 blanks like this two of them are going to have the parentheses, and then here is the common constant or the common number. So when you look at here, the number that you can pull out of both is going to be a 2. So you physically have to pull the 2 out. So what you do is you pull the 2 out of it. If you take a 2 out of here, 2 divided by 2 is 1, so this becomes 1x. If you take a 2 out of here, 2 divided by 2 is 1, so then that would be a plus 1. And then we're going to keep the 2x plus 1. Now for Schoology's sake, it's going to say, here in the first one, put the common constant, which is a 2, so you're going to type in a 2. The next one would be put the one that if there's a number in front of the x term, so I'd do 2x plus 1, and then I'd wrap it up with the x plus 1, which we typically write without the 1 there. The last 3 problems in your homework in this learning objective actually will ask you to factor out this common constant. So just be careful in your approach. Let's look at one more where you're going to have to factor out a common constant. Let's go to this question which was an equals to equation, and I'm going to get rid of that again for now. And let's just focus on factoring this trinomial. Another approach you can use to factor this, by the way, is you can see if there's a common number you can pull out of everything before you even begin. If you look at this trinomial as it stands, there's a constant number that 3, 18, and 15 all have in common. It's the number 3. So what you can do is you can pull out the 3 before you even start. So what you do now, 3 divided by 3 is 1, so you're left with 1x squared. 18 divided by 3 would be 6, so that'd be 6x. 15 divided by 3 would be 5, so you're left with 5. Now keep this 3 here and just go ahead and start to factor this like we did the other day. So I'm going to keep the 3 and I'm going to break the trinomial into 2 binomials. In this case, my next step is going to be to break out x squared into here and here. That's easy enough, into x and x. The next step for that one, we're going to want to come on in here and we're going to want to take the 5, put factors of 5 here and here. 5 isn't hard, it's 5 and 1. So we're trying to get our middle term here, when I multiply these two, to be 6x. So I can use 5 and 1 and just place them right here as a plus 5 plus 1. Double check your work. 5 times x is 5x, x times 1 is 1x. 5x and a 1x is 6, so we are correct. Now for Schoology purposes, they're going to have 3 blanks. You're going to have the constant, then one binomial, and another binomial. We have that the constant value is 3, so you would type that. And then we're going to want, as we've been doing, the smaller number first. So if here plus 5 and plus 1, we'll put the x plus 1 first because that's smaller, and then x plus 5. And we would be completely factored. Now I will tell you, when you first looked at this, you didn't see you could pull a 3 out, you could actually go ahead and factor this on its own, and at the end, pull out a 3. If you did, to factor this at first, what you may have done is you may have said, I'm going to do 3x plus 3 and x plus 5. This one actually does work. If you double check it, a 3x and a 15x will equal the 18x, so that's correct. Schoology would say you're not quite done. X plus 5, there's no common number between the two to pull out, but between 3x and 3 there is. You can actually pull the number 3 out of there. So you'd come into this problem, you'd pull the 3 out. This would change. 3 divided by 3 is 1x. 3 divided by 3 is plus 1. And then this would stay the same. So when you do that, what ends up happening is you're going to get this as the answer, which is the exact same answer we had down here. So it doesn't matter if at first you don't see you can pull a 3 out of there. In the end, you will notice that you can, and you will still get the same answer.